This is the Authentic Dating series brought to you by Ahmad and David,
where we explore what it takes to have a dating life you're excited about.
Hey guys, I'm David.
I'm Ahmad.
And this is the Authentic Dating series.
So we have a very special episode. I'm actually in awe and excited for this episode because this is our 50th episode since we started. 50 episodes. It seems like I don't know, years ago that we started this whole thing, and actually it's only been like just over a year and a bit, right?
Yeah, 50 episodes. I was almost taken unawares actually at the number, just through like getting them ready, putting them out, organizing guests and next guests, and it was like, oh wow, 50 is like a real milestone, right? I think that's something we mentioned in one of our earlier episodes about how most podcasts end after, I think, like the first 7 episodes, if that.
Yeah, pod fade. Yeah, like pod fade. So yeah, after 7 episodes. So apparently a lot of podcast people just lose steam, right? And it does require effort to keep the consistency of the podcast going. So yeah, it's amazing that we managed to do it, because not only that, about not keeping up with consistency of it, but also the fact that we've been able to record all of these podcasts together, over everything that's happened, and with the pandemic and lockdown and all these things, like we've been able to continue, and we've just adapted to the surroundings to make sure that we've continued going on and producing podcasts weekly.
Yeah, we just stayed really true to what we wanted, you listeners to get, what was, our ultimate aim is to empower men in their dating lives, and leave them in a state where they can create beautiful connections. And we've been really lucky in the last few months to kind of see this work in action, through through the coaching we've been doing and the events and so forth. So we just want to keep continuing with the good work that we're doing. And thought that we do this episode and have it as be the kind of like a rounding off, a kind of looking back, a nostalgic feel of the of the last kind of year and a bit, and the different episodes we've done, and just what we've learned, what we've taken out of it. Because creating a podcast like this about dating, you learn a lot about dating, and you also learn a lot about yourself and how you show up in the world, which I think is a big part of what dating is for a lot of people, how you're showing up in the world. And also I guess we're going to talk about what we're going to do next around the podcast and our general brand.
Yeah, and as a pointer for everyone listening today, what we're about to go through is actually a process that we apply in our daily lives whenever we reach a certain point or a milestone, and it's just a 4-step process. So that's what we're going to go through today. It's in 4 parts, and this 4-step process, we call it a completion, and in the sense that we do this in order to really delve deep into what we've created and what we've learned. And I may as well just go through the 4 steps. So it's like what we've created, what we've learned, what we're now letting go of, or what we're done with or over, and what we're creating next. So this is actually something that you can apply to your own life. And it doesn't have to be just when you've completed something. It might be something that you started and you didn't complete. And it's very, very powerful because it has the result of giving you more energy for your next endeavor. And as we go through this, you get a better understanding of it. So we'll break at each point just so you know which one is which, and have a good understanding for yourself. So so without further ado, shall we jump in?
Yeah, let's go.
Cool. So step 1, what have we created? This will be interesting because me and David just did this individually. I have no idea what he's about to say, and he's got no idea what I'm going to say. So we'll obviously not repeat each other, but we'll just cover the main points. So, Dave, I feel like you're raring to go.
Oh, am I? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing I kind of got in there was around kind of honing in and creating a message that people really love and enjoy, and we love and enjoy delivering. Like, I think that's a big part of what we've created with the podcast. Like, when we first started, we just knew that we had knowledge, that had been helpful to people. We were hoping that we could do something, but as we've gone on, from the messages we get from you listeners, and then the conversation we have on Instagram, we realize that it's a message that's really resonating with a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually something that I got as well. And the way that it occurred to me was establishing the Authentic Dating series as a real and powerful resource
Mm,
for both men and women. And the way it came to me was like uh, for both men and women to unravel the mysteries of their dating lives, like
mm,
to really start to have a understanding of what is going on and why it's going on.
mm. That's beautiful wording.
Mm, thanks. So so an obvious thing that we've obviously created is 50 episodes. I mean, we've created
Mm,
50 and across like so many different topics, and some of them are really ingrained in dating, and other things are more to give yourself like and to speak into what it is to build a lifestyle, which is
mm,
a well-rounded lifestyle. Uh, I think the next point for me was we went on from creating a podcast to creating a lot of speaking engagements and events and establishing our credibility as authorities in a dating world, and really wherever we've gone and wherever we've spoken at, we've always added value, and I think that's a beautiful thing, because we've put ourselves out there, and we've been very free in sharing our message and contributing to other people, whether it be their events or other podcasts. And it's just always been a wonderful experience. I can remember, the first time we did a talk with Taylor Matched,
mm,
and it was like we were nervous and
mm,
whatnot, but by the end of the evening, like you could feel. You remember that everyone was sat around talking, and the
mm.
energy was buzzing. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that night. Taylor, also from Taylor Match, came on our podcast. One of our first two or three guests, actually. Um,
Mm,
and she suggested, we run an event where we answered questions, basically a panel talk about the three of us.
mm,
And I remember, it was up in the what's it called, in the Spitalsfield, wasn't it? Old
mm,
Spitalsfield or something. And I
yeah.
remember being like quite nervous in the evening about how it's going to go, what was going to happen. And people just got immense value from listening to questions being answered, asking questions themselves. And it was one of those beautiful events where there's maybe 30 people in the room, and then when we finish
Mm,
talking, everybody just stays. Everyone just stays,
mm,
hang out, talks. People swap phone numbers. I remember also had those what's it called, the cards, the conversation cards, and it was just like, this is what why we do what we do, so people can actually meet each other and actually get to know each other, instead of being this fake world of like, oh, I'm meant to look this way, I'm meant to be this way. But people honestly and openly on it opened up about who they
mm.
were, and it really created connections between people. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's a lot
and
of fun.
that speaks into like I really feel like one of the things we've done very well is creating a strong following of engaged people, like people who are
Mm,
really into our message, and it's both men and women, and I feel what that has done for us is really allowed us to put like a voice in the dating world that both men and women can relate to. It's not just one
mm,
side of the story.
mm.
We're speaking to both. We concentrate on men, but we've always known that both men and women resonate heavily with what we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. One of my points actually is showing men that dating is a lot more than what you do and what you say, and that
Mm,
having understanding of your emotions and feelings is a positive thing.
nice. Nice, yeah. The last couple of points for me is that we went on to create a coaching program
Mm,
to then allow those men who wanted to take this knowledge deeper and really, I suppose, weave it into their lives and express it in their lives. We created a 3 month coaching program, which has been amazingly successful for something that
mm,
was the first time that we did it. I must say it was like beautiful, and it was a beautiful experience. It almost like 3 months flew by.
mm,
We didn't know exactly how it was all going to go, but we just put everything that we had into it,
mm,
as we often do, and the results were beautiful. The final thing that I got is that we also created being on a radio show. We
mm.
were on a women's radio show, which was a beautiful experience of being for the first time being in a studio for me, at least. Anyway, I don't know if that was there for you, David. And then we also had an article published by the very prominent and popular Muzmatch
Mm.
dating app, which, what an achievement to start, with from zero, and then build ourselves up to being recognized by one of the most prominent brands in dating in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. It's been a quite a ride actually, and just realizing one's own knowledge and the value of that. I think that's a big thing that a lot of us suffer from, is like not necessarily believing what we know has value. I think that's really something I've seen in creating the podcast myself. Yeah, one of my points was about the coaching program actually, and just how transformative it's been.
Hmm.
Like not necessarily for the our first coaching client who we took through that for the the full 3 month program, which I seem to be struggling with my words right now. Um, and it was like, we looked at the goals they had around building confidence, feeling good enough, feeling that they could talk to women, that they could create relationship, they could get multiple dates. And it was just like all those things have been hit, all those
Yeah.
things and more, like a lot more had been done during that time. And it almost sounds, because I know sometimes I see sales emails from people from coaches, and I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, whatever. But from someone who's coached someone personally and seen that go through, going to see someone who is struggling to get dates, struggling to meet women, not able to connect, and to see now it's like, connecting with women even during this lockdown, right?
Yeah.
Most men are like, oh, how do I meet women, how do I connect with women deeply? It's like, our coaching client is doing this during lockdown, and all he's got is a camera and a bedroom, and he's doing that.
He's not even left his house.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's amazing what you can do when you just have some coaching. Like I've had coaches over the years, and it's been phenomenal for me. So the program's been amazing to create that.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I
actually,
think,
just
go
oh,
on.
go on. Oh, it's just
No,
one
no.
more thing that I've got is the we can't forget the number of great guests that
Yes,
from the
yes.
point that we decided that we were going to have guests on the show, we've
Mm,
really been able to attract some really awesome people that have really helped to expand not only the the breadth of the podcast, but also
mm,
we've learned a lot. I feel
yeah.
like I've learned a lot from speaking to these guests, and it's been wonderful to be on a podcast and actually be learning at the same time. It's been a
Yeah,
great experience.
yeah, yeah. It was an epic guest. Like, I go back to the first episode we put out this season with Russ and with Taylor Matched, to like the one we did with Ben, which was really beautiful. Like to sit down with
Mm,
another man in a room and just talk, and it just felt like I remember this being a very relaxed conversation of three men talking about being open and the virtues of that. Um, to some of the ones we've done more recently with, say, William, who's been a mentor and coach to us both, and Stefandos, who just was like an absolute fountain of knowledge when it come
yeah,
to the masculine feminine dynamics. So I think yeah, it's been amazing to go from like nothing and not, our little podcast of just us to having, world renowned guests.
yeah. Genuinely, that's quite an achievement. So the next section is what have we learned. So the first thing that I put down is that creating a successful podcast requires hard work and consistency. Like
Mm,
in the first season, we were recording things week to week, pretty much. We sometimes we recorded ahead of time, but most of the time we were sitting down, spending a good 3-4 hours coming up with content, and then recording a podcast and putting it out, the following week. So that
mm,
was that was really like full on.
I think with the work, it's like, I think it's one of those things I always say is disguised from the world, is we always see the end result of what people do, and we don't see the work that they put in. Like I know
Mm.
people, for instance, I know AJ loves football dearly. So we'll talk about football, and like football players, people always like, oh, it can't be hard to run around a football pitch for 90 minutes a week. And, but what no one ever sees is, you don't see what they do day to day in terms of their eating, like the restricted diets they have, the stretching, even down to massages they having daily, the training they're doing all the time. And what you don't never see and never hear is the sacrifices they've made throughout their whole life, from the
Mm.
ages of like 11, 12. When everyone else was out, drinking for the first time, they weren't doing that. They were training, they were running, they were looking after themselves. And I think it's like with any finished article, you just hear us talking for an hour or two, depending. Um,
Yeah.
But there's all the strategy meetings we put in place, the calls we make with potential people to be on here, the social media stuff that we do, the research that we did. That's one of the points I had actually around learning was we did like a whole load of research over last summer about
Mm.
what issues men are facing, like what are the big problems in dating. You've seen our episodes about building confidence of women, overthinking, the fear of rejection. There's a couple others that we saw identified when speaking to men, that these are the main issues that stop men from actually kind of creating the dating lives they really desire and creating the lives they really desire. So we did two things. We created episodes that are in line with that, and we created a coaching program that helped men with all those things. So I feel like in terms of that, it's been a huge learning.
Yeah, that's a great point. Um, another key thing that I feel like we learned is that how our message, while we set out to help men, we really started to see how the message that we were sharing is very much universal
Mm,
and loved by both men and women, and that was always a great achievement, because we felt like in this world there was always like one sided, or like it's either
mm,
women bashing men or men bashing
mm,
women, or people mostly speaking from the pickup like sort of scenarios for men, and pickup lines, and there was a lot about manipulation
mm,
and in the world, and very early on in our podcast we hit that sort of thing on the head. I think it was like number two, or sorry, not number two, number episode 3, talking about pickup lines don't work and why. And what was really, really cool in learning this is also that men are thirsty for this knowledge. It's like men who are aware and who have had some experience with dating are thirsty for, like, how do we build better connections with the women that we meet, and establish better relationships. Like, what is the elixir?
mm,
Uh, yeah, and so yeah, it was really cool to be able to actually share our knowledge. And the final point that I put down for like what we learned was that we have so much to share. Like we
mm,
we we started off thinking, there's a few points here and there, and we'll talk on different topics. But actually, each thing that we speak into, we realize is more and more. It's like an onion.
mm,
The more we delve into it, the more we learn ourselves and reflect on. And actually, I didn't say this, and I don't think David didn't say this either. But in the time that we've started this podcast, I've got engaged, and like the knowledge that we've shared and about relationships and relating, and
mm,
and things that we've learned have been useful to me in my relationship, and I've continued learning, and my fiance Chloe continues to reflect back to me like different things. And I know, obviously, David, you established a relationship for yourself during this creation of the podcast.
This is one of my points actually, is kind of learning that commitment doesn't look just one way. I think we all, it's a big part of, relationships is being a committed relationship. And I'm in a committed relationship, but it happens to be open. So for a lot of people, that doesn't look like the kind of conventional thing, but it actually works very well for me and my partner. So I'm seeing more that, like, what works for me isn't necessarily how everyone else wants things to be. And like Ahmad said there, like a lot of the things that we talk about, we're talking about from like used experience, not from we've read in some book somewhere and we got a degree in this some point and someone else said it was right. It's like we have experienced it for ourselves in our own lives, and we've also seen it experience in the people that we coach and the people that we know. So that's been a really great learning. I think,
Mm.
to echo one of the things you said is around how men and women are always said to be different.
Mm.
And what
Yeah.
we've really seen in the last kind of definitely the last year is that actually that's really not very true. Deep down, the issues, the worries, the concerns are exactly the same. And
Yeah.
if we can, through communication, that is the key to actually learning and realizing about the other sex, and helping yourself in your dating life.
Well, yeah, I remember saying to you the other day, like, so the problems that men and women are facing are actually exactly the same. Like people talking about ghosting, or not sure whether someone wants to move something forward, or what are the signs,
Mm,
and often men are like asking these questions and thinking that women don't suffer this at all,
yeah.
and coming to the realization that one of the most powerful things that men can do is actually connect with themselves on a more deeper level to better understand
Mm,
how they feel. And the more
mm,
that they understand how they feel, they'll actually start to get that actually women and all people are feeling the same, because we all have emotions, right?
yeah.
We're all thinking and feeling, and so it doesn't have to be this whole well, the usual story is, oh, I'm a man, she's a woman. Men don't get women, and that's the basis for a lot of dating advice. It seems is that men don't understand women, women don't understand men, and it's all a bit of a hopeless endeavor. But actually, yeah, surprise, surprise, through our research and for our time making this podcast, as David just said, like we share the problems, and somehow we've yet to, as a human race, we've yet to just go, oh, actually everyone, oh, you've got the same problem as me, oh, okay, oh,
Mm,
why don't we just sit down and just thrash this out for a bit, and then maybe these problems will just disappear.
mm. Yeah, exactly. It's it is incredible that there's this base idea that women are completely different, and then it's just that men aren't. The more you learn to feel about what you want and how you're feeling and what you want, the more you will learn that everyone around you is just like you.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's another thought that occurred to me about that is, perhaps it really is just down to the fact that when men are young, we're young boys, we're not taught to feel emotions,
Yeah,
and so then we develop completely in this world of like, well, that's not important to me, and
yeah,
then later on in life, we're trying to get into a relationship, and we're like, oh, I don't understand what the fuck's going on,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then,
And then there was this, I think what there is also for a lot of men is there's a fear around feeling more and what does that mean? How is that going to change me and how I'm going to act? So men don't necessarily engage in that side of the world and that side of life. And it's like, I always joke, with friends sometimes, like if we made a podcast about money and told you how to get more pussy and get laid more, people would be all over it, right? People would be all over wanting to hear more, blah, blah, blah. But because we don't directly tell you that, though this is exactly what our podcast will do. It will help
yeah,
you, get laid more, have
yeah,
more sex, have more good sex, meet more men and women, and probably as a byproduct, help you make more money, right?
yeah,
Or at least
yeah.
be more in your purpose. Maybe that's what we should change the name of the podcast to be: How to Get More Money, Purpose, and Pussy.
Authentic purpose and pussy. That's good.
Authentic purpose and pussy.
Pussy podcast. The authentic
Pussy.
purpose and pussy podcast. Yeah, we'll be like ranking number one in
Mm.
everywhere.
How
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get that good D, for the
Uh,
ladies.
yeah, for the late, well, and those who want D,
Yes.
those who,
We've
and
had
how
that
to.
conversation.
Yeah. All right. So the next one is, what are we over? And what this
Mm,
means is like, what are we like? Dave and I really understand this, but for those who don't understand what this one is like, what are you letting go of? What do you realize now that you no longer need? It doesn't serve you as a belief or a structure or a thing in your life, and you go, okay, I'm done with this. So what are we over? The first one for me is like doubting and questioning the value of my own message, and I know
mm,
our message. I know this has been a huge one for us, even though we got into this and we share this and we're very vulnerable and open. We often question. We often questioned rather that, is this valuable information? Do people really want this?
mm,
And the results over the last year and a half or so have really spoken to the fact that yes, people do. Because another thing we didn't mention, and it comes back to me, is that we created this event with our good friend Kapil,
mm,
called Man Up, and again, sharing openly, vulnerably, and each event had approximately somewhere between 60 to 70% men, in
mm,
there. It wasn't just like a 80% women and a few straggling men coming
mm.
in. So yeah, that's the key one for me.
Yeah, that's one in here for me. And I've almost said it in a couple of different ways. Actually, it's like it's as much as we might sit here and speak, and you may listen to us and be like, "Oh, they're very self assured, they're very confident." I know
Mm,
for myself personally, suffering from the self doubt of like, "Oh, does anyone really want to hear this? Is this making any difference in anyone's life?" like, maybe we should do something different, we should talk about different things, and blah blah blah. It's very easy to go to that place when maybe you're not as many people are listening as you want to, this fictitious expectation you have, or not believing that what it takes to really make a difference, or what I suffer from often is comparison. I see someone else and I'm like, oh, what they know is much better, I should just completely stop talking. you know
Yeah, yeah,
um so yeah. And I think one of the things for me that I'm over actually was not wanting to coach.
yeah.
And that
Okay.
was a big thing at the beginning when we first started the podcast. We had no intention of ever coaching anyone again in dating. And then, started doing it again and actually realized that it's part of something I really love doing. And it's something I want to definitely do more of and expand into, and have more larger coaching sessions and so forth. So that's definitely something for me.
Yeah, and to speak into something we said a bit earlier, is like another thing that I'm over is that men are not interested in learning more than just sex.
Yeah.
Like, because from all of the research that we did, we discovered that actually, and we focused our research on men between the ages of 25 to 45, and we discovered that actually all these men, I think all bar one,
Mm,
all of them said that they were actually looking for a committed relationship in the long term.
mm,
And they had their reasons as to perhaps why not right now. In some cases they were up for it right now, but in most cases men were in a very explorative phase, but they really wanted to settle down at some point.
mm.
And I think that's a major piece, because so much of the usual story out there around dating is men just want sex and they don't
Yeah.
want anything else, and women are out there scouring the desert for that one man that actually wants to settle down. And it's
Mm-mm-mm.
just not the case.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
the final thing that I got as well was that like what I'm also over, and I feel this is true for you, is like not sharing our message and using our voice to improve the world and make it a better place.
Mm,
And I think the coaching thing really speaks into that, because I had the same sort of resistance to it. I didn't want to. I suppose what it was is that I didn't want to get bogged down with having to expend a lot of energy into developing another character, because for those of you who haven't heard this before, David and I have done a lot of coaching in the past.
mm,
Individually we did a lot. This is the first time we'd actually created a program together, but individually we've done a lot of coaching. We've got a lot of experience in taking men out, and in the day, in the night,
mm,
and helping them to overcome their fears of rejection and approaching women and conversations in all types of different scenarios, like SAS, really
mm.
like drop them anywhere, and and they're able to speak. And and it required a lot of, sometimes it was like 6 hours on the trot,
Mm,
right, out and about. And so from that I feel like we had a lot of resistance to just going, oh, I don't want to get back into that again.
mm,
But what comes out of it is actually we do have so much to share, and it makes such a positive impact that it will be a crime, a heinous crime, not to share what we know, at least through the podcast and through our coaching programs, and wherever else that we're sharing. So
and
yeah.
events and stuff. Yeah.
Mm.
No, I really feel that, like, not wanting to, not feeling like what you have to say has value, and then when you start actioning it, you see the difference it can make, kind of, in people's lives. It's like, yeah, it's amazing. It's when you see what's what I say is, like, when you see it in action, it really blows you away when you see the change that it can have in someone's life. Because you might be sitting here listening to this and being like, oh, my dating life's okay, it's kind of okay, I meet people, I'm not that desperate, blah blah blah. But I see from my own experience of coaching, and also my partner, she's a coach as well, is like the difference just having someone to sound that's not your friend, that's not going to tell you what they think you need to hear, but actually telling you what's good for you to hear. And it's just astounding. You can go from having okay dates to having fantastic dates where you feel deeply connected to people. And you don't only need to kind of take that on if you're struggling. If you're, it's like there's always something you can learn. And having that sort of attitude, and feel thankful for the coaching clients we've had, they've had the attitude of wanting to learn and wanting to expand. And
Mm.
that's made a huge difference as well.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, just to add to that, and this is not as part of this exercise, but to add to that, I mean, both David and I have had coaches in the past, and I'm actually being coached by someone now, not around dating, but in terms of creativity and whatnot. So like it's so true that there's always a value in having someone that you can speak to, that's like get out
Mm,
of your head, and someone who's holding you accountable
mm,
for the results that you say that you really want in your life, and
mm.
it's invaluable to have that external voice. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful recognition. Yeah. All right. So we're into the final section now. And I hope everyone listening gets a really good sense of actually how powerful this exercise is, because you really start going down different routes and realizing, yes, we've created a podcast, but there's so much more to it. And there's so many things that get created and learned in the process. So the final section is like, what are we creating next? David, I'll let you go first on this one. I think I've jumped in on the last two.
Yeah. I think something that's really obvious next is to like create an online community of men. Like I feel
Nice.
very passionate about helping men because, and it's not that we don't care about the ladies. I think through helping men, we help women. I think that's a deeper thing that I feel um, because I see more and more women are taking a massive lead in terms of social change, in terms of societal change, personally with their own personal work. And if men are not careful, they're going to get left behind. And that's my
Yeah.
real opinion. I think women are moving forward at a rapid rate when it comes to developing themselves, their careers, their finances, their self-worth and their mindset. And if men don't move along quick enough with this change, they're going to be left behind, and women will just use sperm banks. And I think that could be a serious issue for men in the next 100 years. Um, so I think group coaching, like bringing men together as a group and coaching them together, and seeing what that looks like over the course of 3 to 6 months, and coaching a group of men together and build that kind of brotherhood that a lot of us men lack in our life because we didn't grow up with men in our lives who were supportive in that way.
Mm.
So I think that's something that I'm really looking forward to doing.
Yeah, that's so true. Like that, I saw someone who followed us or something on Instagram, and they were sharing about this, the importance of men having men in their lives, and
Mm,
I dropped a message on their account and said, yeah, it's so true, because David and I are very fortunate that we've been friends since high school. Well, we've known each other since high school, and we've got better connected after high school, but we've been friends for a long time. And not just that, but we've also got like a good handful of male friends that we're always in touch and connected no matter what's happening.
mm,
And we know that this is not the ordinary thing. This is not the normal way for
yeah.
people. And we're trying to make this the new normal. This is going to be
Mm,
the new this is going to be the new normal for people. um, and I wrote something as very similar, just slightly different words, and it was like, the way I put it was like creating a real space in the world where men can learn to be vulnerable and express who they really are.
mm,
And so like that's when you speak about the online community, that's for me, that's like creating that real space, like having something in reality where it enables men to feel comfortable and secure and safe, and to learn and to grow and evolve. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, I think the other thing that I got was that I think what's next for us, and a huge thing, is taking our message and turning it into a lifestyle concept.
mm,
So what that means for me is like we have the Authentic Dating series podcast, and really expanding on that brand with more talks and branding and more video content, and really speaking into it, really making an impact. I know Dave and I have been secretly working on some like a clothing line in the
mm,
background, which we started, a good few months ago. So that's been put on a hold for now. But well, not officially on hold, but it's just kind of taking a bit of a back seat. But yeah, really taking this thing and expanding the message, and seeing where it takes us, because the podcast is one side of it, and I know David's got a lot of knowledge that he'd love to share around his personal experiences, and so have I in my own stuff. And I think that's what's great about us, is that we come from two different sides of the same spectrum.
mm,
And there are problems on both ends, whereas where I came from, being very, very shook, very scared and stuck around expressing myself around women, and you were very confident, but then still there were the issues of like, how do what do you do with that, with that
mm,
confidence, and what's the healthy way to live with that. And so yeah, really, we really cover a whole range, and it'll be beautiful to package that up and get that out in society more and more, with our message, with our videos, and just I when I what I'm looking for here is like this sort of expansive sense to the podcast, and not forcing anything, but allowing it to unfold in a beautiful way.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I've got one thing actually down that kind of speaks into that. Like, it's a big thing for me to actually delve into the world of kind of sex and intimacy. Like, I see
Mm,
more and more. There's a lot out there for women, especially, to reclaim their sexuality, for them to deepen their pleasure, and there's very little for men, in my opinion.
mm,
There's very,
yeah.
very little about how to have better sex as men, like what to do, how to feel more when it comes to sex and pleasure. And it's something that a journey that I've been on over the last 5 years, or I could even say last 15 years. Really, I've always been really interested in learning about sex, but it's something I've really learned quite deeply about recently, and I'm kind of in the works of putting together some video content about how to basically be more in your own pleasure, but also feeling more into someone else's, your partner's pleasure. Because I think my belief is one of the big problems with consent is that people aren't considering how the other person is feeling. They don't spend
Mm,
the time to go, how could this other person be feeling? Because they're so wrapped up in their own kind of like, I want to get this sex. So my take on it actually is like, if you can feel into someone else and what they like, what they want, what they don't want, then you start to, one, consent becomes much smaller of an issue because you're always checking in, but equally you'll learn to be with your partner better, be more in the intimacy and all the things that traditionally we're told. I said air quotes there. Traditionally, men are told that they're scared of doing. And I don't believe that they
mm.
are. They want that kind of deep sexual intimacy as much as women do. It's just that we're told that we shouldn't. So I just want to something I want to expand on.
Yeah, beautiful. Nice. Cool. Well, that brings us to the end of the completion. Unless there's anything else that you wanted to say, David? Oh,
Oh well, I think there's two things I've got actually down.
sorry, yeah, go on.
Go on. Two things I've got down here is travel actually. I just want to travel again.
Mm.
To not ignore the current predicament of the world actually, and it's something that I really miss. I haven't really traveled much in the last kind of year actually. It's something that I was looking forward to, and yeah, just being involved in and being around. And I've got down here what came to actually was your wedding as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking, that's what's coming next as well, and the celebration of you and Chloe's love is something that I'm thoroughly looking forward to.
Yeah, yeah, true. Well, I was focusing more on the podcast related stuff, but yeah,
Mm,
absolutely. Like, yeah, that's there's been a bit of a spanners in the works with regards to the plans, but given everything that's going on, but yeah, of course, we'll move forward with that. Um, so I'm definitely really excited for that. It's been quite a journey just getting here. So I think, yeah, what's next for me with that is like obviously getting married, and then sharing more and more about my experiences and how did I get from being a guy in a very strict religious structure, and feeling very closed off, to becoming more and more self-expressed. I was going to say fully expressed, but I feel there's always more that to
mm,
me. I'm always learning more as the years go on. And what comes to me as you were talking, David, because I really love David's message. I know I've been saying to David for many years, like, you should definitely be teaching. And it's funny how now we live in a world where it's a lot easier to actually do that, and it's
mm,
far more. It's also, it's like the world is open to that sort of
mm,
message now as well, which is really great. I think what I would love to continue doing is also expand my reach in terms of getting this message about being more vulnerable and in touch with emotions, and the importance of getting in touch with your individuality and your
mm,
individual expression. I think that's so key, because David and I have been on this journey for a long time, and I really see that for a lot of men, that's something that they struggle in, is just defining, like just being like, okay, this is who I am, and I'm gonna like play in this character, and see where it takes me. And I've definitely picked up a lot of that stuff from you over the years, David, where you've been a lot like, right, this is how I'm going to do things.
mm.
And then you tend to go for, like, when you went traveling, for a good 2 years, despite everyone saying that it was a bad idea. And I've just seen the joys of that. So I really love to do that, and I think the vehicles for doing that will be obviously the podcast and doing more events. But I think the thing that's really on the cusp that I'd love to get into is more performance based and creative arts. So that would be fun.
Mm.
There's also that movie I've been working on for a long time. So so yeah, so yeah. But it's being and I think my final point here then today is like one of our goals with the podcast and when we first set out to create this was to create a vehicle for us to expand in our lives and to see where our lives could take us with what we already know,
Mm.
not like taking on and learning more things or learning a new vocation, but going, okay, this is what I know, or what can I do with this? And I looking back over the last year and a half and creating these 50 podcasts, like wow, like we've like from where we started to where we are today, what you're talking about, sharing your real true beliefs and me sharing my true beliefs around the world, and coaching, and being more public facing and really having a voice in the world is just an amazing achievement. So well done to both of us.
Mm.
Congratulations, David.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's been it hasn't always been easy, I think it's creating a podcast. I don't know if anyone else, the listeners, would be very interested to hear, any of you that actually run one, is that there's so many of them, but you think that it takes, there's much more, not much more than the half an hour that people speak, but there's a lot more work that goes into it than that to create that content. And it's just you do it through love and want, really.
Yeah, and of course as we've mentioned throughout this episode, we've had our own doubts as well,
Mm.
and there were. I remember very early on David being like, "Man, I'm struggling to come up with ideas for new episodes." And then fast forward a bit, and then we're like, "Oh man, this is so easy coming up with with content for new episodes." And then all the step, like every single step, like doing the events and this, and there's always hurdles, and I think that's another beautiful thing is like we set out to create something and just to have a lot of fun along the way, and it has um to coin a phrase from a podcast we recorded recently with an interesting character from Milk for Tea, was there's been a lot of healing
Mm.
in the process of creating our own personal healing, and like in where we were stuck with our expression and being overly concerned about what people would think about us. Like when we
Mm.
first launched the podcast, we were like, oh shit,
Mm.
like here we go. Now we're going to see what's going to happen. But
Yeah.
it's been beautiful. We couldn't
Mm.
have asked for a better experience. I think it's been very, very I feel very blessed to be where I am now with this creation, because it's got great momentum. It's got a great following. Yeah, people love it. We love doing it, and yeah, I just want to keep growing and see where it takes us.
Yeah, and also obviously to you, the listeners, want to say a big thank you for listening
Mm,
and sharing with like friends and family. Like we've had messages before where people have said, "Oh yeah, I've heard about this podcast through a friend of
mm,
mine recommended it, or someone told me about it." It's like it always warms our heart to hear that, because sometimes when you create content or a podcast, whatever it may be, it can feel like you're just throwing it into the air and hoping,
mm,
because you never know who listens, because you don't always get feedback. We're always happy to hear from people, whether that's by email or through our Instagram at Authentic Dating Series. Like we love to hear about, what episodes people enjoyed, what they disagreed with. Feel free to ping us messages for even episode ideas and content and so forth, and people you think we should speak to in terms of guests. That's always really welcome. And
yeah,
continue to share. Like we feel really blessed that you do share already. But yeah, we'd love you to share some more with maybe some extra people, or um, your own social media. I know sometimes people feel like, oh, I don't want to put something up about dating on my social media because does that make it look like I don't know what I'm doing? But actually, it's a big show of a belief in yourself and a comfortability and a vulnerability in like, I listen to this, like it's okay. Like I listen to all manner of things, and I really always try and kind of push people's message, because it's not just because about me, it's about helping anyone else that will see that post and will listen to that
mm,
episode. um so
yeah.
yeah, please continue with your sharing. It is much appreciated.
Well, yeah, like we're always learning, and David and I are still learning. And
Mm.
and I'm very open about this. I tell people all the time, like I'm not perfect,
Yeah.
but what helps is that I'm open. I'm open
Mm,
to conversations. I'm open to learning. I'm open to being wrong,
yeah.
and I am wrong at times, and still, and I think that that is actually the beauty of life. Like, there's actually a beautiful thing, if anyone has, most people have heard of Kevin Hart,
Mm,
and he finishes his Netflix special where he puts on a huge show in the O2 in London, and he finishes by saying, because he like he fucked up in things in his life, like I'm sure some people may know, like he cheated on his wife,
mm,
and then at one point they didn't let him do the Oscars because of
mm,
some tweet that he put out, and whatever your opinions on what he did, um, the point that he makes is that too many people are trying to live a perfect life,
mm,
and you don't really find out who you are by living a perfect life. You find out by living, and yeah, you're
mm,
going to fuck things up, but then you do your best to hold things together and to make up for your foibles, and then you really discover what you're capable of, and who you
mm.
really are. Like, it doesn't define you. It's what defines you is what you do next. So yeah, beautiful, cool. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, not much more to say. I guess, if you, like we said about Instagram, go and follow us, or at least come and send us a message. If you're interested in the coaching, this is something, if you're interested in the coaching, drop us a message on Instagram or at our email, which is hello@authenticdatingseries.com. If you're considering it, just get in contact, and we have a free kind of 1 hour introduction call about what it is. We will even, take some time to find out what it is that your issues
Hmm.
are, what's getting in the way of you creating what you want to create in your dating life, and give you a little bit of coaching through that in the hour as well, and also explain to you what the 3 month includes. Don't be scared away by price, because it's not as much as you think it is. We don't say the price because I think, I feel it's best that you hear it when you hear what it's fully about. But I
Hmm.
think it's incredibly reasonable, basically,
Yeah.
for what you get, and it's a beautiful program.
Yeah, and just to add to that, like, David and I are in the process of expanding that offering as well, because what we want to, as David mentioned earlier, we'd love to create something, a space for men. So far, we've been doing mostly one to one, but what we want to do is actually start creating some group coaching, where we actually get a group of men and go through the process. And I think this from my own experience of this, and working with groups of men from the past and stuff. I know it's a different dynamic, and everyone gets to learn from each other.
Mm,
So yeah, we're constantly developing and refining what we're up to. So yeah, do get in touch, and yeah, we'll be happy to speak.
yeah, great. Well,
Cool.
it's been wonderful to share that with you. Here's to the next 50 episodes.
Yeah, and if you want to get in touch, I don't think we mentioned it was hello@authenticdatingseries.com is our
Yeah,
email. Or you can just send us a DM on Instagram. But I think technically speaking, we've got like 25 more episodes, and then we can this will make for the second season. It will make
yeah.
another 45 episodes or so. So
Well,
yeah, here's to the future,
it's to
and
the future.
yeah, here's to the future.
Cool.
All right, guys, thanks for
Ciao,
listening.
ciao.